because you bastard.
Pay attention!
Dramatic, nigga.
Trendsetter.
Yes.
Trendsetter.
Yeah, better keep that over there. Better keep that over there. Better keep that over there. You better keep that over there. Better keep that over there. You better keep that. Better keep that.
Yo, you got your hand in my face now, right? You got your hand in my face now, right?
You want something to say to me, man? Say it to me, man. What? What, man?
What would you think about that? Everything changed when they came up with that expression, the war on drugs. With the war comes police militarization, the complete gutting of the Fourth Amendment.
They put me in a unit made up of a bunch of the biggest crooks in the whole goddamn...
What's going on, YouTube? We are back in the Low Key Cave, Keyshawn Knobs YouTube page, aka Mr. Low Key, and we are back with another TV show review, and we are doing We Own This City episode 2 review. We pretty much jump back into this episode with starting off with Sergeant Wayne Jenkins. He's in the interrogation room, and I'm thinking he's waiting to be interviewed or whatever, and he still got that stone cold look in his eyes. It's more of a look of just like he just doesn't get it or understand, or more of this look of like, I am not, how do y'all got me? This is not y'all, I'm not supposed to be in here. Not this guy. I am not that guy that y'all think I am. Not me. Like, it's just a denial in his look. That's the word I'm really looking for, the denial. Like, he just feels like that he is not supposed to be in this situation they're in with everything he has done or whatever. But we also get a look at, we do a time jump as far as Sergeant Wayne Jenkins, and we go to 2003 where he is in training to be a beat cop. Basically the early days before Wayne Jenkins was on the Gun Trace Task Force. And this episode does a couple time jumps, basically with Wayne Jenkins in his early days as being a beat cop, but you also see the difference in his personality. You can see the transformation from him and the things from him being a beat cop from 2003 to 2005 and learning about how mass arrests and just locking up people put stats up. And they play a lot of emphasis on that as far as this episode goes. But you just see how he ain't that same individual that we are introduced to, especially in that first episode. Like, this ain't the same guy that we meet going back to 2003 when he coming in like a fresh face. And even the guy that he's supposed to be riding with, as far as I guess his whatever you call it when you a rookie cop and you got the cop that's over you, your trainee or something, your cop that's training you or whatever, the person that's training him, he's just putting him on everything that's going on and letting him know as far as what they out there to do. And it's just a confusion on his face. And I'm talking about in the early days as far as 2003 when the guy's explaining to him like the way they locking up people or whatever, and he got this confusion in his face like, okay, what are these individuals doing or whatever? And once they explain the crime, it's like, okay, so we locking up people for no reason. And then that's where they get into the whole thing and the logistics about the mass arrest and just arresting people. And it really dives into that this episode, man. And it's just crazy how they really talk about it and the way they just know nonchalant about it, especially the officer that's working with Sergeant Wayne Jenkins. But it's really in tune, especially with him. We get a little bit more from him this episode as far as just his upbringing, as far as the way that he was introduced, as far as the certain things and the certain elements that he was seeing around him, as far as Sergeant Wayne Jenkins and just his personality, because you see the difference in just how he is first coming in there as far as that beat cop, and the difference that takes on him as far as the years going on, as far as everything he's seeing around him, even when it comes to the arrest. The way he arrests people, you see the difference. The first time he looked like he's arresting somebody, he's not really aggressive with it. He's not even really saying nothing out of the way. But the more it goes on and the more you see the years go by, as far as between the time jump between 2003 and 2005, as far as Wayne Jenkins being a beat cop, you see that difference in his personality. And it kind of put emphasis on it, showing you how you got these certain cops coming in that's probably not familiar with the way things are going or how they doing things, and they really play a lot on that when they go into the investigation with the one of the other members of the Gun Trace Task Force. And we are getting a new investigation as far as this other member that's a part of the team or whatever. But he starts to really go into detail about certain things, same way my other guy was doing. But he starts really telling them about just the way they was going about things and how really certain things was going on way before they even got there, how this been going on for such a long time. And they really put emphasis on that too, showing you, like I said, going into this investigation of these police officers that was a part of the Gun Trace Task Force. they don't hold back. They're just sitting there letting it flow like, hey man, I mean shit, y'all like it's just like nonchalant about what they was doing and him explaining the way they was doing things or whatever. So that was another interesting key point that they did with this episode, man, and I was just sitting back just like, wow, the way they playing off this though. Like I said, them diving into the whole politics as far as police locking people up for anything just to make an arrest, and how the charge would get dismissed the next day, but the arrest is still on the record for the books. And it's really putting emphasis on, I'm guessing, how it makes the mayor look good, and how, like I said, this guy is explaining this to Sergeant Wayne Jenkins nonchalantly and everything, about how the mayor likes to, I guess you would call it, cook the books or whatever, or just put these officers out here to make all these mass arrests. Once again, hovering back over to the wire when you usually had the I forgot the name of them, but you know, you had not Bucknell, but you had Minotti them trying to make a point to go after bigger criminals instead of what they was doing, instead of cooking the books. And every time you would have those big meetings on the wire, you know, when the captains or whatever come up there and showing them the numbers or the crime rate or whatever, and how they was trying to fix it where it was looking better than it really was. So they're really still playing a lot of emphasis on that, especially with everything that's going on as far as the mass arrest. And they really dive deep into it in the early days of Sergeant Wayne Jenkins when he come in 2003, and between those years from 2003 going into 2005. But yeah, it's really interesting to see that. But we spent a lot of time also in 2015 jumping back to our cops that's running an investigation on the drug dealer that they was following. But things take a turn once, like I said, they you seen the last episode, they found that other tracker, because besides the tracker that they already had on his car, they found another tracker. And once we watched the episode, we ended up finding out that the tracker belonged to the members of the Gun Trace Task Force, because they were planning on robbing this nigga. So this is another scene that really goes back to those McNulty and, you know, I can't remember other characters' names, man, you know, but you know, my people that was on the wire and really doing those things as far as the wiretaps or whatever, as far as people's phones and listening in, they really played on that as far as in this episode and taking you back to those days of the wire. I'm sorry I can't think about people's names. All I can think about now is McNulty. I know everybody that was in the streets like Marlowe, Avon, them, but as far as the cops or whatever, I can't come to their names right now. McNulty is the only name that's hitting me right now. But yeah, they really play emphasis on that in this episode, especially with these two cops as far as the two individuals that's running the investigation. We didn't get my man this episode as far as Gordon Hawk, played by my man, what's the name, that was with Bodie all the time. But we do got these two cops as far as David and Scott. And they really primarily running the investigation. And as far as them and the drug dealer, they're starting to turn their heads over into these cops, especially as far as finding that trace or whatever. And now they got these taps going on, and it's what they're hearing and it's what they're listening to, and the things that they're starting to notice, and things that's starting to come about that's not even like beyond what's going on as far as who they was following. Now you're talking about these city cops or whatever, and what they had going on with this individual and why they had this track on him or whatever. So they do play on that too. But we also, as far as, and this is 2015 while we doing this, because this is like the beginning stages of the early investigation going into the Gun Trace Task Force. So we are in 2015 as far as the time jump. Speaking of 2015, we still got Nicole, who's pretty much going around trying to get interviews. She's basically trying to see, she's writing the report on the cop Daniel Hurst, and starts to interview people who have had to run in with him and other cops and get a better understanding of how this cop is still able to walk the streets as a police officer. But it's not only that, she's just getting an idea of what's going on as far as just the policing in Baltimore overall. And that's really what's coming in as far as her report and her investigation, because the other guy is not really in this episode that was with her in the last episode as far as what's the dude name, man? What's the guy name? Oh, I don't got his name right now, but it was another guy that she had with him that came with from Justice Department as far as the civil rights section of it. But she's primarily the only one that's going around trying to get interviews with people and trying to talk to people, specifically like this artist that has a rap song about him as far as Daniel Hurst. But the dude is basically damn near is a legend in the streets, as they would say in this episode, just off everything that he has done and the fact that he's still able to do what he's doing as a police officer and be allowed on the streets. So they got into that, and it's an exchange. between this exchange. My bad, I can't get the words out. But it's an exchange between Nicole and Daniel Hurst. And the way he answered her, the way he even talking to her, it pretty much puts in the full view of who this guy is, especially to her. And what, like she telling him, like, hey, this ain't no criminal investigation. She writing a report or whatever, and he not trying to hear anything, man. But it gives her an idea. Not only an idea, I feel like it gives her a full view of who this guy is and the way he does things. But yeah, that's definitely one of the key moments of this episode, especially with everything she's trying to find. Well, not really find out, but her whole report on what's going on, especially once again with the whole Freddie Gray situation, but just the policing that's going on in Baltimore. But besides what she has going on, we get some more interesting moments from the interrogation room, like I said, where we time jump back to 2017, because this is when everybody has been arrested as far as the members of the Gun Trace Task Force. And it's really these convos, especially with this individual, as far as one of the members of the Gun Trace Task Force, and once again how they going into detail about things. But he pretty much telling how everything's worse, how them stealing, to how things been going on way before they came, like I said before, but just how messed up the system and the police force really is. Because he said something about he was supposed to be, I think, fired for something, but he ended up getting suspended for 2 years with pay. And when they ended up reinstating him back, the fact that they put him with some of the biggest criminals on the police force, that whole scene and what he's saying to them, that was a good scene. And it was just hearing everything he was saying though. But this was a really interesting episode, like I said, especially with them in the interrogation room talking to him. But as far as Sergeant Wayne Jenkins, like I said, we just flipping back and forth with him as far as the early days of him being a beat cop, going into I think 2005 when he starts to train another individual cop. But also getting him in 2017, like I said, he's arrested right now, but it's still that denial in his face. Everybody else seems like they just facing the facts that they caught or whatever, but with him, it's still like, nah, y'all need to be quiet. Like, he started yelling at my man when they walking past each other, as far as the other cop that's in the interrogation room right here, like, keep your mouth shut and all this in the third. And like I said, he looking at him like, man, it's over. Like, that's it, like, they got us. But yeah, it's really interesting. Like I said, without John Bethrall even saying nothing, it's just his expressions and just the look on his face in certain scenes. It tells you everything and the thing he going through. But like I said, it's still this that denial and the look in his eyes. We also, man, get some more from my man Jamie Hector's character. What's my man name in here? Sean Suter, if I'm not mistaken. But he's playing a homicide cop. But it's also seeming like it's a little bit of history with a certain cop from the Gun Trace Task Force, the cop that was in the interrogation room on the first episode. And you could tell that I'm thinking that he was once a member of them at one point in time, because he even has a little conversation in the first episode with John Bethrall's character, Wayne Jenkins. And you could tell there's some history there. But besides that, he seems like in this episode he's coming about his first or maybe second homicide case. And it's pretty much like new to him or whatever, but he's giving me those bunk vibes from The Wire. You know, the heavyset dude from The Wire that was in Homicide. But it's really good, man. Like I said, seeing my man Marlo, you know how crazy Marlo was from The Wire, being the flip side and having him playing the homicide cop in this series as far as we own this city. But I'm really enjoying, like I said, the flip that they have had with a bunch of individuals that came from The Wire and the way they do portraying their roles in this new show we own this city. And I hope they bring my other boy back, the cop, like I said, that was always hanging with Bodie, that's playing the cop in this series. I hope we get him, because we didn't really get too much from him. I think he has one scene in this episode. But yeah, man, this was another good episode, man. Like I said, just them showing the upbringing as far as Sergeant Wayne Jenkins and him becoming a beat cop, and how just how influenced he became over the years of seeing certain things, and just how he wasn't really like familiar with anything, and he wasn't the way he is now, and how we seen him in that first episode. And they showing just basically character development and seeing this guy's upbringing, becoming a beat cop, and just like I said, them explaining everything to him, especially the cop that's training him, about the way they do things and just how things work, especially down there in Baltimore as far as the policing. But yeah, this is definitely another good episode. Once again, y'all let me know in the comment section if y'all had a chance to check out this episode. How did y'all feel about it? Did y'all enjoy it? Is it still giving you those Wire vibes? Do you all feel like this is our season 6 of The Wire? But overall, I feel like it's giving me the Wire vibes. Like I said, it's specifically in this episode when they had my man them sitting in there doing the whole wiretap thing. Like, that was taking me way back. But it's giving me the Wire vibes, but in a good way, as far as not taking me back, as far as giving me good nostalgia of a feeling, but giving me something new is what I'm trying to say. It's still giving me something new, but I'm able to be like, oh, this taking me back to the Wire, or taking me like those little Easter egg moments, I feel like. But overall, I can't wait for episode 3. I'm definitely looking forward to it, but y'all let me know in the comment section, have y'all had a chance to check out both episodes 1 and 2 of We Own This City? Let me know in the comment section, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure y'all hit the subscribe button. This is the road to 500 subs. Make sure you hit that notification bell, let you know when I upload new videos. Other than that, man, we out.
With a bunch of the biggest crooks in the whole goddamn department. There's all this money to be made, and I'm somehow supposed to be playing by the book with these motherfuckers?
Never giving up when I'm in my zone. Always gonna die when I lost my soul. Jackpot, motherfuckers! When I lose control. I don't see a light when I lose control.
So these cops caught lying and with their abusive behavior remained on the street.
They did.
If it is the feds who are on this, the case could go on for years.
What case? Send no Pablo Escobar.
I actually don't want a problem.
No, I don't think you
I don't ever want a problem. But when they say they want a problem, I say no problem. That's it.